Hello and welcome to Foundations 30. I'm your host, Mrs. Clausen. This lesson is lesson 7, problems involving credits. So we've taken a peek at bank loans, and we know that bank loans are options for larger purchases, but what we want to look at in this lesson is what if you want to make a smaller purchase perhaps and you don't have the funds available to you. So sometimes using credit cards or other like store credit options are something that you can look into. So a few things that you should be aware of if you're going to be starting to use credit cards is that often there are incentives or promotions that are offered to entice people to use credit cards or to sign up for new credit cards. So it's very common in stores. I know when I've been shopping, when they'll say you can save an additional 20% today if you sign up for our JCPenney credit card or whatever the case may be. So they're really trying to lure you in to use the credit card because they want you to put things on the credit card, not pay it off, and then they make a huge amount of money on interest. Before you make a purchase, always, but especially when you're using a credit card, you should consider the full cost of borrowing. So if you don't pay off your credit card by the payment due date, you're likely going to pay somewhere between 14 and 20% interest on the purchase. So interest on credit cards is very high. If you do pay it off by the due date, there is no interest charged. But if you don't pay it off, then you pay interest. And the interesting thing about credit cards too is that they most often charge daily interest, and it's usually retroactive to the date of the purchase. So for example, if you bought something on the 2nd of the month and your date of paying something off is the 24th, but you don't pay it until the 25th, they're going to charge you interest back from the like 2nd of the month until the 25th, or however long it is until you pay it off. If a credit card has an outstanding balance, it can be treated as a loan. Or sorry, does not have an outstanding balance, then just think of it as a loan. The amount of the purchase is the principal. You have an interest rate, and you can make payments until you pay it off. But the thing with a credit card is that you generally have much higher interest rates. Okay, so we're going to compare credit cards and loans. The thing is that you have to talk about, or the common thing here, because unless you're told otherwise, you normally would make a monthly payment on a credit card. But because, like as I said, the interest rate is daily, we have to remember that anytime the payment schedule does not match the compounding schedule, you need to use the advanced TVM solver. Okay, so on your app, you're going to use the advanced function for a lot of these questions when we have credit cards because you're going to make monthly payments, but the interest is going to be charged daily, so they don't match. So let's take a look at our first example. Maya is buying a used trailer for $5,000 on credit so that she can travel through the Rockies for the summer. She can afford payments of $200 each month and is considering these two options: the dealership credit card at 15.8% compounded daily and an immediate rebate of 2.4% off of her first purchase. That's option number one. Option number two is a bank loan at 9.8% compounded monthly. So we want to find out how much would she end up paying in total with each option, how much interest would she pay with each option, how long will it take her to pay off the balance, and which we would recommend. So we're going to get to work working on those things. Okay, so for option one, so we're going to write down all of the information that we would plug into our app. So the present value, the payment, the future value, the rate, and the period. Okay, so option one, when you go to the dealership, so the thing here is that you're going to save 2% off your first purchase. So if we figure out 2.4% of 5,000 is $120. So that means that the amount of my loan is actually going to be just $48.80, okay, because we subtract that amount. So remember, we're going to put in our present value as a negative number because that's the amount that the bank is loaning me or the credit card is loaning me. So it's a negative amount of money because you owe that money. Your payments that you're going to make, so she's able to make payments of 200, and we're going to put those as positive values. So this is important that your present value and your payments are opposites of one another when you're paying things off, okay? The future value, well, that's going to be 0 because we want to pay it off. and the rate is 15.8%. So we put those into the TVM solver, the advanced solver, and it comes out when we have it calculate how many periods. Keep your periods set monthly and make sure that for your rate, that this is compounded daily. Make sure you choose. So on your advanced solver, next to the rate, you'll say annual because it's 15.8% annual. But at the bottom, you change it to compounded daily. Our period's 29.67 months, it's saying. Okay. So to figure out in total how much we pay for that, so you're going to pay 29.67 times 200. Of course, we're not going to pay that 0.67, but it'll tell us how much that payment is in that last month. So when I do that for part A, I end up paying $5,934 if I use the store credit card. Okay, so then how much of that will be interest? Well, if I take 5,934, take away 48.80, I figure out that I've got $1,054 in interest. And question C says, how long will it take her to pay it off? Well, if she has 29.67 months, so it's going to take her 30 months. That last month, the payment won't be quite the whole $200, but that's okay. Okay, we'll do the same thing now for option 2. So option 2 is using the bank loan. So present value, payment, future value, rate, and periods. Now, because this one, my payment is matching my compounding, so it's compounded monthly, you could go back to the regular solver, or just for your rate, when you put your rate in of 9.8%, you go down to the bottom and you choose monthly because it's being compounded monthly. So next to that, it's 9.8% annual interest rate, but it's being compounded monthly. So your present value of that loan is going to be negative $5,000 because there's no incentive there. The payments are still going to be $200. The future value of the loan is going to be nothing. You're going to pay it off. Your rate is 9.8%. So when you put that in there, it comes out at 28.8%, or sorry, 28.08 months to pay off. So when I calculate the total cost, 28.08 times 200 gives me $5,616 for me to pay it off. B, how much interest? Well, I would subtract 5,616, take away 5,000, so that's going to be $616 in interest. And how long is it going to take me to pay off? 28. Well, actually 29 months, I guess, because there would have to be a little bit left over on that last month. 28.08 means you'd have just a few bucks to pay off. So 29 months. Okay, and then part D says, which would you recommend, the credit card or the bank loan? So you really can pick whichever you choose, as long as you have rationale to back it up. I mean, in this case, you are paying a little bit less money with the bank loan, $56.16 compared to $59.34, and you pay it off a month earlier. So I would say going with the bank loan would be better in this case, but completely up to you. Okay, let's look at a second example. So Nikki wants to be debt-free in 5 years. She has 2 credit cards on which she makes monthly payments. Card A has a balance of $2,436.98. It has 18.5% compounded daily. And card B is $3,043 and 19% compounded daily. She's qualified for a line of credit. Okay, so the line of credit at her bank has an interest rate of 9.6% compounded monthly. So basically, we want to figure out what is the best option here for how much interest will she save if she consolidates that loan. So consolidating means you can keep your debt as they are on the 2 separate credit cards, or you can add them together, pay it off with your line of credit at a lower interest rate and see how much you're going to save, which is often something that people will do. Okay, so we're going to have to do kind of 3 calculations here: card A, card B, figure out how much interest in total, and then with the line of credit and figure out the interest so that we can compare. Okay, so card A, that was my red information. So on card A, so again, we put down all of our information from our app, PV, payment, future value, rate, and period. So again, keeping in mind that when I'm paying a credit card, my payment is monthly and my interest is compounded daily. So I need to use my advanced solver. So the PV is negative 2436.98. I don't know what my payments are going to be. My future value is going to be 0. The rate is 18.5%. Okay, now it says in the questions that she wants to be debt-free in 5 years. So if she's paying monthly payments, okay, so she's making monthly payments for 5 years. So 5 times 12 is 60. So if I go ahead and do that, then the solver tells me that my payment on that credit card would be $62.73. So if I want to figure out how much I actually pay for that $24.36, I need to take my 60 payments times $62.73 gives me a total of $3,763.80 that I pay off on that money. So to figure out the interest, I take $37.63.80 and subtract what the principal was there, $24.36.98. So in total, I'm paying $1,326.82 in interest over the next 5 years on card A, if I leave it on the card. Okay, let's do the same thing for card B. Okay, so let's get all of our information here. So card B, we are needing to pay off $3,043.26. That'll be a negative value. I don't know what my payments are going to be. We're going to pay that off to 0 at an interest rate of 19% over the next 5 years. So I will have 60. And my solver will calculate my monthly payments for that card is going to be $79.19. So to figure out how much money I actually pay, take my 60 pay periods times 79.19, tells me that I'm going to end up paying $4,751.40 for the balance on card B. So the amount of interest paid. So I'm going to subtract my total paid minus my principal, and the interest paid on that card is going to be $1,708.14. So when I add up the total amount, if I leave the balance on the credit cards and pay them off with the credit cards over the next 5 years, I'm going to end up paying a total of $3,033.96. Okay, so that's option 1, is leaving them there. Now what we want to figure out is when I consolidate this loan, then how much would I end up paying? Okay, so if I consolidate, just get my information down here. Now here it's compounded monthly. So again, if you want to go back to the regular solver, you can. So you're going to add together the amount, the two balances, which is $5,480.24. That's going to be a negative value. That's below her $6,000 credit limit, so she could go ahead and put it all on there. The future value of your loan is going to be 0. The rate of that line of credit is 9.6%. Again, we're going to be making 60 payments because we're going to pay it off over 5 years. So when I do that, put it in my solver, I figure out that I'm going to pay $115.36 per month. Okay, which already, if you compare that to your payments on the other one, so 60 and 80 about was $140. So now I'm making a lower payment. And let's figure out how much more I save in interest, okay? Because you're lower payment and you're going to save interest. So I'm going to take those 60 payments times $115.36. It's going to tell me that over the 5 years, it's going to cost me $6,926 and $21.60. Okay. So if I wanted to figure out how much I save in, or how much my interest is, then I take my principal, my amount paid, $69.21, minus how much I actually owed. So the interest that I have to pay when I consolidate is $1,441.36. You can see it's a huge savings, right? So the amount that I save, so if I keep them on the credit card, I pay $3,033.96. And if I put them consolidated, I pay $1,441. So I end up saving $1,592.60 in interest over the next 5 years. Plus, I have much lower monthly payments. So, I mean, lesson of the day there is if you have the chance to consolidate your loan at a lower interest rate, then that is a wise option. Okay, so there are some practice questions for you to go ahead and do. There are 7 altogether. These are kind of lengthy. If you want to start with the odds, 1, 3, 5, 7, and if you do those ones fine and don't have a problem, then you could probably stop. Otherwise, you could go back and do the evens as well.